Welcome to the Igniting the CEO Within podcast, where we interview successful high-level professionals to discover lessons they've learned throughout their career that can help ignite that CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge, and I'll be your host for the next 15 minutes or so. Our show is sponsored by Quaid, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quaid has developed Launchpad, which offers an opportunity for experienced executive coaches to become licensed circle directors and earn significant recurring revenues. After completing the Launchpad program, you'll lead your own peer advisory circles, helping other CEOs and entrepreneurs excel in their professional and personal lives while providing a community of accountability, challenge, and support. If you'd like to learn more, go to quaidcircle.com. I am pumped for this episode today. I get to hang out with Herman Armstrong, who is the founder of Kathairo Solutions in St. Louis, Missouri. Herman, welcome to the show, man.
Mark, thank you. It's an honor to be here with you today.
Well, man, let's get to it. You've got so much stuff. I don't want to waste any time.
Oh,
So
let's do it.
you do some amazing work with leaders, and you've been around leaders your entire life. When you start to think about those really, really good leaders, those people that really stand out in your mind, what traits do they share that separate them from people who might not be the best leaders that you've been around?
Sure. No, that's a great question, Mark. Yeah, so most of my career has been in education, nonprofit, and ministry spaces, right? So all avenues that are heavily focused on relationships. And so when you ask that question, the very first thing that comes to mind is that leader that successfully knows how to navigate the relational dynamic of work, right? I've seen individuals that are teachers, right? And they move up to a principal, right? So they're skilled in that technical aspect of teaching, but not so much in being self-aware, their emotional quotient, their cultural intelligence. And so not having that ability to connect with people well, understand themselves well, that's what hinders their leadership. And so the most successful leaders I've seen and coached understand the value of developing and maintaining healthy relationships. Leaders that are not so successful either don't see the value of developing relationships or just don't have the capacity to do it.
Yeah, that's really good. There's a bunch of stuff to unpack there that hopefully we can get back to some of it. But I think that the first one I want to dive into is that step from I'm going to say worker bee
Sure.
to leader, right?
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
that that's a big jump for people
Yes.
because you can be a technical expert, but then moving up, it requires something completely different. How do you
Yeah.
work with people? Like, where do you start? You mentioned self-awareness, but where do you start in that when you help somebody in that journey?
Yeah, yeah, no. So that actually starts with me and my own self awareness. My first go at being a manager was in my 20s, really young, didn't know what I didn't know, was really good at telling people what to do, wasn't good at making these connections and empowering people. And so it just made a lot of pushback. Didn't go well, but I learned a lot through it. And so when I work with leaders now, we start with coaching. There are a couple of different assessments I use. One on cultural awareness, one on emotional intelligence, and a series of questions and dialogue that helps leaders think about their own culture, their own vibe, what they bring to a situation, and also thinking through how others perceive them. And so before we get to the deep work of management, that idea of unpacking self-awareness so you know how you show up in a room.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Talk, keep going more on the cultural awareness piece because that we've heard of emotional intelligence a lot,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
you've
yeah.
heard of self awareness.
Yep,
The
yep.
cultural awareness, I think, is has maybe been wrapped up into those things before, but
Yes.
you're separating it out, and I love that. Share more about that and the importance and then how do you become more culturally aware and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff? So yeah, lead me down that path. This is great.
Yeah, yeah, no, I appreciate that. Right. So many great definitions of culture. The one I like to use is just the beliefs, values, and behaviors that distinguish one group of people from another. Right. So many different cultures, much larger. Some people just think of race, but cultures can touch on anything, geography, many other avenues and attributes. What type of work you do that lead into culture, and so it's interesting. Most people that I coach, when I ask them, "Hey, just very simply, can you describe your culture?" The average response I get is, "Well, I don't even know if I have a culture," right? But we all
Uh-huh.
have a culture. We all
Yeah.
grew up somewhere. We all have beliefs and values that have shaped who we are. And so when we don't if we don't think that we have a certain culture, the next assumption is, well, everybody does everything like I do. And so I've experienced this from several different avenues in leading work teams, individuals from cultures in meetings where the biggest voice wins the conversation, right? Other cultures, whether it's family style or nationality, some folks will defer to the senior person or just don't feel comfortable speaking up in a group.
Mhm.
And so I've navigated that in several different areas where one person thinks the other person is being obnoxious, and the other person thinks the first person is just being squeamish, right? But
Yeah.
but no, like, let's talk. Like, there's a reason why both of these individuals are engaging in this the way that they are. It's their beliefs, it's their values, it's their behavior. And so a lot of what we do with cultural intelligence, we do an assessment so people understand their level of intercultural competence,
Mhm.
help them think through defining their culture. And as they define their culture, then we think about, okay, where have you been in situations where you've had cultural conflict, where you've clashed with somebody, right? And that's often the light bulb of, oh, okay.
Huh.
So it's not that I'm wrong or this person is wrong. We're coming from different vantage points. And
Mhm.
so similar to EQ, where we think about how we show up and they show up, cultural intelligence is similar. What are the beliefs and values, and often in work, the communication style that I'm bringing, and how is that agreeing or pushing back on the culture that others are bringing to the situation?
Yeah. That's really good. I'm gonna dial back a little bit more too.
Yeah,
When you
yeah,
first started, you talked about, how where you were born,
yeah,
how you were raised as your foundational
yeah.
culture, right?
Yes,
To me, that means that your culture can evolve and
yes,
change, right?
yes, definitely. Yeah.
So how does that happen?
Mm. Yeah, no, I'm glad you circled back to that. Often that comes from having an open mind. And so, like, my story includes being raised in sort of a very, very tight, very focused culture, inner city, St. Louis area. And then, being jettisoned off to college in a rural town that was totally new for me, international vibe, just never been on a college campus before. And so that exposure. And so even as an 18-year-old kid saying to myself, okay, I'm going to, talk to people who look like people I may have never talked to before. I'm going to go to gatherings that maybe seem very odd to me, just to
Mhm.
learn that there's so much more out here in the world. And so, to your point of, yeah, culture can evolve and grow. One, that's us when we come into new situations. We don't deem the other as negative or bad. We just see it as a different approach. And so we approach people. We see all people as people. And so we're differential. We're humble. We ask good questions. We ask good questions. Often in coaching, there are certain resources, certain good books that I uh, lead people towards to understand more about, American history, world history, like why people approach things the way that they do. One in particular is even just a cultural journal. That's one of my most favorite coaching tools. having individuals after they went into a situation that's different to them. Okay, well, what was different about it, right? What struck you, and also what can you learn? That's a sign of cultural maturity, valuing our culture, our upbringing, and knowing there are things we can teach others, and also understanding and being ready to receive and learn from the culture of others as well. And so, yes, life should be a series of cultural growth and
Mhm.
maturity.
Yeah, that's cool. So, I mean, really there's a level of curiosity, right?
Yes,
Like being able to ask questions and put yourself in a position where you can ask questions,
yes,
not out of judgment, but out
yes,
of curiosity and learning. And I think I'm going to I'm going to try to put words in your mouth, and you can spit them out when I go
sure,
wrong. But um, it doesn't mean that you have to change your culture or adapt to your culture. What you're really saying is let's become educated and respect everybody's culture of where they're coming from.
yeah,
And you do that out of curiosity by learning and saying, oh, that makes sense.
yeah,
That's not my thing, but
yeah.
now I at least understand it, right?
Yes, most definitely. It's all about that humility and that curiosity, right? Goes back to Dale Carnegie, right? Everybody loves to talk about themselves.
Right.
Yeah, we're not judging people. We're saying, hey, I'd really love to learn more about that. And yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't require us to change. Now there are times, to your question, where we may have to adapt our approach,
Yeah.
right? Depending on the situations.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a presentation for, small nonprofit, I'm gonna come with a different vibe, different attitude. If I'm leading a professional development for a large corporation, but that's me being mindful of my audience and speaking and leading in a way where they can receive what I'm presenting.
Yeah. That's really powerful. And it's I don't know. I don't know that I grew up that way, but I've evolved
Mhm.
like going
Yeah,
away to college and traveling and putting myself in positions that I've never been before and treating that as just a really cool opportunity to learn something.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, if we're, what's the other quote? Most leaders are learners, right? Lifelong learners. And it's interesting, right? Because we are leaders, we want to be adept at whatever we jump into, right? But we know we come in a certain situation, certain community, certain newness where we're not the expert, right? Where we have to be okay asking those questions. Yeah, I'll keep saying it, being humble and being curious and yeah, just learning more about different perspectives and different worldviews. Yeah.
How so this sparked a question in my head. So as a leader who wants to be more culturally aware, how do you go about that in a company? So you just come, you're the new CEO, you're coming in. How can you prove, for lack of a better word, that your intentions are good and you're not doing it just because that's what a book says you should do and all that kind of stuff? How do you do that? How do you break down? Maybe not the right phrase. How do you break down a barrier
Yeah.
where somebody may go, "Oh, he's just doing that because he read a book, right? It's a book of the month club type deal." How do you go about that as a leader?
Yeah, no, that's a great question and a great usage of words because in most corporations, communities, those barriers do exist, right? Naturally, that's one thing people can be good at is separating. We can find something to separate us. And
Yeah.
so that humble but intentional leader coming into a new situation, one should be very open with people about what he or she is doing and why, right? Because you're right. If they start making their rounds, some people will make assumptions, but that person can say, "Hey, I want to learn more about the different cultures in this workplace and help us move to a place of greater cohesion or greater unity." And so that starts with, depending on the size, talking to key leaders, maybe others, that leader sharing their vantage point, what mindset they're bringing, and also allowing others to share, like direct reports, what have you, their culture of upbringing, but then also to your previous question, how their culture has evolved, right? And so, even one, we're just practicing good leadership in not just coming in talking about work, but we're actually connecting with people on that deeper level. After that leader has made an initial assessment of who he or she's working with, what the climate is, there needs to be some type of effort, um, with buy-in from the stakeholders, okay, of what needs to be done, right? It may be we need to revisit our values as an organization. We may need better conflict resolution policies. We may need to address something egregious or negative that may have happened in the past, right? And so understanding what that organization's cultural hurdles are, and then working with those key leaders to do that effectively. That leader may have the capacity to do that, or they may need to outsource, a firm who has, who specializes in diversity, cultural awareness, and all that, to sort of support them and walk them through that. But
Yeah.
initially, just being open and clear about the desire to connect and learn about.
Yeah. Yeah. You can go a long way with authenticity, can't you?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Just be who you are.
That's
Yes.
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 That's
Yes.
exactly right. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time and for sharing your wisdom. I want to end with one question for you. If you look back at 21-year-old Herman,
Mm.
what is one thing that you wish he knew then that you know now?
Oh my, just one thing.
Just one. That we'll narrow it down to just one. We'll come back and do another episode, and
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
list.
yeah.
You can provide the whole list. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Senior in college, still frustrated with being out of my comfort zone, but just that it's good. A lot of my work today is about helping people understand that you can endure cultural conflicts in healthy ways. And so I wish 21-year-old Herman knew that cultural conflicts are good. It's good to broaden your horizons, and we always benefit when we engage in that intentional cross cultural pursuit. We learn more about ourselves, and we learn more about.
Wow, that's so cool, man. Thank you for hanging out.
Yeah.
Share with our audience, our listeners, what does a typical engagement with you look like, and how can they get a hold of you?
Sure, sure. So Kathairo is all about helping leaders and individuals and organizations navigate cultural conflict to get to that cohesion, right? And so a lot of what we do is educating people on culture, different styles of conflict. We use assessments to do that. Some select key resources that we have for leaders, often coaching for CEOs or those senior leaders, anywhere from 6 months to a year, and having these, touch points where we check in and see where progress is going. Those also include half day, all day professional development sessions, so staff can understand as well what culture is and how to navigate it successfully. People can reach us at kathairo.com, KATHAIRO.com. All of my social information is there. You can look me up. I have one of the easiest names to spell, Herman Armstrong. You can look me up, and I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Love it. I love it, man. Herman, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a blast. I think we've got a bunch of more ground to cover, so we're gonna have to
Yes,
do some
indeed.
more episodes, don't you think?
I agree. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, awesome. Folks, we've done it again. Found another amazing leader to drop some wisdom and some nuggets on you. Really appreciate Herman joining us, and look forward to more discussions. As a reminder, Igniting the CEO Within is sponsored by Quaid, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quaid has created Launchpad, which provides an exciting opportunity for experienced executive coaches to become licensed circle directors and earn significant annual recurring revenues while having an impact on those they serve. To find out more, visit quaidcircle.com. Until next time, keep igniting that CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge. Thanks for listening.